not supposed to be here, not down here, in the dark with us. But you clicked, and something inside you needs to know. The world is getting stranger, more desperate. We chase youth like a sickness, injecting eternity into our veins, while something hungry tunnels through the canyon walls beneath Sedona. We scroll through endless feeds, ignoring the flickering lights under Chicago that don't lead to a road, they lead to a loop that never lets go. We clear-cut forests and warm the soil, and something ancient stirs in the moss-strapped silence of the whole rainforest, something that doesn't want your flesh, it wants your nervous system as a nest. These are 3 true horror stories I never wanted to tell. Stories from places where the map lies and the human body becomes currency. Tonight, you'll meet Sloan, a beauty influencer who paid for flawless skin with someone else's spinal fluid in a secret Sedona biohacking retreat. You'll follow Damon and Kelsey into the abandoned freight tunnels beneath Chicago, where the concrete shifts behind you, and faceless entities stitch your voice into their acoustic hunting algorithm. And you'll trek with Rowan and Nina into a parasitic insect breeding ground where a low-frequency pheromone erases fear and compels you to walk smiling into the colony's core. These aren't warnings come before the mistake. These are confessions from the other side of beauty, of infrastructure, of nature itself. So dim the lights, seal the door. Because what's whispering through the red rock vortexes, what's humming through the fluorescent liminal dark, what's hatching beneath the emerald canopy, already knows you're listening. They found the first journal 6 miles off the trail. No boot prints leading to it. No sign of a campsite. Just a black moleskin notebook, propped upright against a white oak, as if whoever left it wanted it found. The ranger who discovered it, a veteran named Harlan Cross, with 23 years in the Great Smoky Mountains backcountry, said the pages were still warm in the middle of a November frost. He flipped it open. Read the first entry dated 3 weeks earlier, and then he radioed for a full extraction team. Not a rescue. An extraction, because by the time Harlan finished reading that journal, he knew there was nobody left to save. The hiker's name was Jenna Thorne, a 31-year-old software developer from Raleigh who had quit her job to solo hike the entire Appalachian Trail. She documented everything, her gear, her mileage, the exact calorie count of every dehydrated meal. And then, on day 47, she documented something else. Something that started as a faint humming sound in the Smokies, a low frequency that vibrated through the soles of her boots and settled somewhere deep behind her molars. The journal entries grew strange, her handwriting shifted, the neat print devolving into spiked cursive. She wrote about a door in the forest, a door that wasn't there the day before. She wrote about a voice that sounded exactly like her dead mother, calling her name from just beyond the next ridge, and her final entry. Just 5 words scrawled so hard, the pen tore through the paper. Read. They wear us now. Harlan Cross retired 3 months later. He never spoke publicly about what he found in that notebook, but someone in the extraction team leaked one detail, just one, to a local news affiliate before the story got buried by the Park Service. Every single page after day 47, 13 pages in total, wasn't written in ink. It was written in something that tested positive for human bone marrow. I'm telling you this because a year later, I decided to hike that same section of the Appalachian Trail myself, not to find answers, not for closure, but because my sister, Jenna Thorne, was the one who wrote that journal. And I needed to hear the humming for myself. The trailhead at Davenport Gap started like any other, a narrow dirt path slicing through thick rhododendron tunnels, the air heavy with the smell of wet moss and decaying leaves. I'd trained for 6 months, sold half my possessions to afford ultralight gear, told myself I was ready for the solitude, but the Smokies don't care how many miles you logged on a treadmill. The Smokies have their own rhythm, their own breathing pattern, and it takes about 3 days for the forest to sync your heartbeat to its pulse. By day 2, I reached the first shelter, a 3-sided wooden lean-to called Cosby Knob. That's where I met Griffin. Griffin Voss, a 28-year-old ex-Marine who was through hiking to process what he called the noise, the residual static from 2 tours in Afghanistan that civilian life couldn't quiet. He had kind eyes, a weathered green pack, and a habit of carving small wooden animals with a folding knife whenever he got anxious. We shared the shelter that night, boiled our separate ramen packets, and talked in the easy way that strangers talk when they both know the dark is too heavy to carry alone. Griffin asked why I was out here. I hesitated, then told him the truth. About Jenna, about the journal, about the humming she described. I expected him to laugh or politely excuse himself to his sleeping bag. Instead, he went very still, his knife paused mid-whittle, a half-formed owl frozen between his thumb and forefinger. He said, "I've heard it too." My stomach dropped. Griffin told me that for the past 3 nights, just as the sun bled out behind the ridgeline, a low vibration would pulse through the ground. He described it exactly as Jenna had, like a cell phone buried 6 inches under the soil, buzzing in a pattern that felt almost like a voice. He said he'd tried to record it on his phone, but every time he pressed record, the microphone only captured static, and then he told me the part that made the hair on my arms stand up. He said, "Last night I followed it just half a mile off trail. I found a clearing that shouldn't exist. Not on any map, not on my GPS, and in the center, there was a door, just a wooden door, standing upright with no walls, no frame, no hinges attached to anything. It was painted sky blue, the kind of blue you see on old farmhouses, and it was vibrating. Griffin said he stood 10 feet away from that door, and something on the other side whispered his name. Not the wind, not an animal, a voice he recognized. The voice of his spotter from Afghanistan, a man named Reyes who died in his arms 6 years ago. Griffin turned around, walked back to the shelter, and didn't sleep. I asked him where the door was. He pointed east, into the densest section of old-growth hemlock. I told him I was going to find it at sunrise. He nodded slowly and said he was coming with me. We left the shelter before dawn, headlamps cutting weak tunnels through the morning fog. The forest was unnaturally quiet. No birdsong, no squirrel chatter, just the wet squelch of our boots against the muddy trail. After 2 miles, Griffin stopped. He pulled out his GPS, frowned at the screen, then showed it to me. According to the satellite, we were standing in the middle of a sheer cliff face, but beneath our feet was flat, solid ground. The coordinates were wrong. The elevation was wrong. It was like the GPS believed the terrain hadn't changed in 100 years. Griffin pocketed the device, muttered something under his breath, and we kept walking. That's when I heard it. A low, resonant hum that didn't travel through the air. It traveled through my bones. My teeth ached. My fillings buzzed like tiny tuning forks. I grabbed Griffin's arm, and he nodded grimly. We were close. The forest changed around us. The trees grew older, thicker, their bark twisted into shapes that resembled human spines fused together. Moss hung in curtains so dense I couldn't see more than 6 feet ahead. And then we stepped into the clearing. It was perfectly circular, maybe 50 feet in diameter. The ground packed smooth as concrete, and in the exact center stood the door. Sky blue weathered, with a brass knob that gleamed despite the overcast light. It cast no shadow. I checked, looking for the dark shape it should have thrown across the dirt. Nothing. The door existed, but it didn't block the sun. Griffin whispered, "That's not possible." The humming was deafening now, a frequency that made my vision blur at the edges. I stepped closer. The brass knob began to turn slowly from the other side. I should have run. Every survival instinct I possessed screamed at me to retreat, to grab Griffin and sprint back to the trail and never speak of this again. But the voice that spoke from behind the door was Jenna's, my sister's voice, not as I remembered it, but as it sounded on her last birthday voicemail, the one I'd replayed 1,000 times since she vanished. She said, "Ellie, I'm still here." The door swung inward, and beyond it, there was no forest. No clearing, no sky, just an endless corridor of pale gray light stretching into a distance that defied perspective. And inside that corridor, they were waiting. At first I thought they were people, dozens of hikers, standing motionless in 2 rows along the corridor walls. They wore North Face jackets, osprey packs, trail runners caked in mud, but their faces, God, their faces, the skin was smooth, stretched tight over bone structures that shifted subtly when I tried to focus on them. Their eyes were open, but the pupils were gone, replaced with a milky white film that reflected the gray light like polished stones, and they were humming, all of them. The same low frequency, the same vibration that had been calling me through the forest for days. Griffin grabbed my shoulder, hard enough to hurt. He pointed at the closest figure, a woman in a purple rain jacket with a faded AT patch sewn onto the sleeve. He said, "I know her face was on a missing poster at the ranger station. She disappeared 6 months ago. The woman, the thing wearing the woman's body, tilted its head. Its lips didn't move, but I heard words form inside my skull, bypassing my ears entirely. You came to find her. It thought at me. Now you can join her." I stumbled backward, pulling Griffin with me. But when I turned, the clearing was gone. The door was gone. We were inside the corridor, the gray light pressing against us from every direction, and the rows of stolen hikers were closing in. Their movements were wrong, not walking, but gliding, as if their feet didn't quite touch the floor. Their humming intensified, harmonizing into something that felt like a voice, an ancient voice, a thing that had been waiting in the dark soil of these mountains long before the first human ever set foot on this continent. I heard Jenna again, her voice but hollow, layered over itself like a badly dubbed recording. She said, "It doesn't hurt anymore, Ellie. They take the pain away. They take all of it." Griffin was shouting, pulling me toward what looked like a seam in the gray light, a crack of natural daylight bleeding through the corridor wall. He threw his shoulder against it, and I saw the brass knob appear. Just for a second, he screamed, "Push through it. Push now." I threw my weight against the light, and for one disorienting moment I felt cold air hit my face, smelled wet leaves and real earth. I was halfway out, but something grabbed my ankle. I looked back. One of the hikers, a man in a shredded blue flannel, had broken formation. His hand was clamped around my leg, and his grip was impossibly strong, cold, like iron left outside in December. His face began to split, not along any anatomical line, but vertically, a seam opening from forehead to chin. And inside there was no blood, no bone, just light, the same pale gray light that filled the corridor, and the humming so loud I felt my eardrums strain to the point of tearing. The seam widened, and inside the man's head I saw Jenna, not her body, her consciousness suspended in that gray space tangled with dozens of other minds, all of them woven together into a single shrieking, desperate choir. They weren't dead. That was the worst part. They were trapped inside something that used their voices to lure more prey, used their memories to craft personalized calls, used their DNA to build the door. The humming wasn't a warning, it was bait, and I had walked right into it. I kicked backward with my free foot, my heel connecting with the flannel man's chest. The seam slammed shut, the grip released, and Griffin hauled me through the crack of daylight with a strength born of pure terror. We tumbled onto wet moss, gasping, blinking in the sudden brightness of a normal afternoon sun. The door was gone. The clearing was gone. We were back in the hemlock forest, the GPS suddenly working again, the bird song returning as if someone had unmuted the world. Griffin vomited into a patch of ferns. I just lay there on my back, staring up at the canopy, feeling the residual hum slowly fade from my jawbone. We didn't speak for 10 minutes. Then Griffin held up his arm, pulled back his sleeve. There on his forearm was a mark, a circular pattern of tiny dots, like needle punctures, arranged in a spiral that seemed to shift when I looked directly at it. I checked my own arm and found the same thing. The mark was cold to the touch, radiating a chill that seeped into the bone. We packed our gear in silence, hiked 14 miles straight, and didn't stop until we reached Standing Bear Hostel. We told the hostel owner, a grizzled old woman named Maria who'd been housing hikers for 30 years. She listened without interrupting, her expression unchanging. When we finished, she pulled a worn Polaroid from a drawer behind the counter. It showed 5 hikers standing in front of the same sky-blue door we had seen. The photo was dated 1987. Maria said, "You're the first ones to come back." Everyone else who sees the door goes through, and when they come back out, they're not themselves anymore. She told us that every few years a hiker vanishes from that section of trail. Search teams find their gear neatly stacked by the path, boots laces tied together, packs leaning against a tree. No signs of struggle, no animal tracks. Just gone, but sometimes weeks later, another hiker stumbles into a shelter miles away wearing the missing person's jacket. They know the missing person's name, their trail name, details of their life they couldn't possibly know. They answer to their trail name. They smile with their face, but their eyes don't blink at the same rate. And at night, if you listen closely, you can hear them humming in their sleep. Griffin and I finished the trail. We didn't talk about it again. Not once during the remaining 900 miles, but every night. I checked my arm, the spiral mark never faded. Sometimes when I'm alone, late at night in my apartment in Raleigh, I feel it hum, a low vibration that rises through my radius and ulna, resonates in the hollow of my chest, and whispers my name in Jenna's voice. I've started sleeping with my boots on, because last Tuesday I woke up standing in my backyard, barefoot in the frost, facing east toward the mountains. And scratched into the dirt at my feet, in handwriting that was not my own, were 5 words. The door is ready. If you're hiking the Appalachian Trail and you hear a hum that has no source, a vibration that feels like a voice inside your marrow, turn around, don't follow it, don't investigate, because the Smokies are old, older than any map, older than any name we've given them. And something in those ancient slopes has learned how to call us home. It wears our faces, it speaks with our voices, and once you hear it, it never ever stops listening. Yorktown Memorial Hospital doesn't look abandoned, not from the outside. The brick facade still gleams under the Texas sun, the white columns standing proud against a sky that never seems to darken over DeWitt County. But locals know better. They cross themselves when they drive past on Highway 72. They don't talk about it at the diner, and they never ever go inside after sunset. The hospital opened in 1951, run by the Sisters of Mercy, a Catholic charity hospital that served the poor and the dying for nearly 4 decades. It closed in 1988, not because of funding cuts or declining patients, but because something inside those walls started taking more lives than it saved. The official records claim a tuberculosis outbreak in the East Wing forced the shutdown, but the death certificates tell a different story. Patients who were recovering suddenly coding at exactly 3:03 a.m. Nurses found dead in the chapel, their faces frozen in expressions of religious ecstasy. An entire maternity ward, 12 newborns, vanishing from their bassinets in a single night, the security footage showing nothing but the nursery doors swinging open and closed by unseen hands. I've spent 3 years researching Yorktown Memorial. I've filed FOIA requests, interviewed former staff, compiled a database of every unexplained death within those halls. 147 souls, 147 stories that the diocese paid to bury. And this weekend, I'm finally going inside. My name is Damon Vance, and I'm a third-shift fiber optic technician who moonlights as a paranormal investigator. The tech side pays the bills, but the ghost hunting, that's what keeps me alive. Because 20 years ago, my mother was one of the nurses found dead in that chapel. The official cause was cardiac arrest, but I was 9 years old when I saw her body at the viewing, and I'll never forget the look on her face. It wasn't fear, it was surrender. Like she'd seen something so beautiful she couldn't bear to look away. I'm going to find out what she saw. My partner on this investigation is Kelsey Rowe, a structural engineer who specializes in analyzing seismic anomalies in abandoned buildings. She's not a believer, she's the data, the hard evidence, the cold voice of reason when my theories spiral into the supernatural. But Kelsey has her own reasons for being here. Her grandfather was the last chief of surgery at Yorktown before the closure, and he spent his final years in a psychiatric facility, drawing the same floor plan over and over, a floor plan that didn't match the hospital blueprints. A floor plan with an entire sub-basement that was never supposed to exist. We arrived at the perimeter fence at dusk. the chain link sagging beneath decades of rust and neglect. The air tasted metallic, like ozone before a lightning strike, and the cicadas cut their song the moment we killed the engine. Kelsey pulled out her tablet, loaded the digital blueprints, and immediately frowned. She said the GPS was putting us 200 feet east of where the property line should be. She recalibrated, same result. The hospital, according to satellite positioning, was shifting. We chalked it up to outdated mapping data and approached the main entrance. The front doors were chained, but a basement window on the south side gaped open like a missing tooth. The glass long shattered. We dropped our gear through first, then climbed down into the dark. The beam of my flashlight caught peeling linoleum, overturned gurneys, a corkboard still pinned with duty rosters from 1987. The handwriting on those rosters was fresh, not preserved, fresh. The ink hadn't faded. The paper hadn't yellowed. Kelsey touched a corner, and her finger came away wet. The temperature dropped 15 degrees in a single breath. We moved into the main corridor, a long central hallway that connected all four wings of the hospital. The ceiling lights still hung in their fixtures, but the bulbs were blackened, not burned out, blackened from the inside. My EMF reader spiked to 12 milligauss, then flatlined, then spiked again in a rhythm. A pattern: short, short, long, short, short, long Morse code. Kelsey translated it under her breath, and then her face went pale. It was broadcasting a single letter over and over, the letter H, H for hospital, H for help, H for hell. We pressed deeper. The corridor stretched ahead of us, and the geometry started to bend. I don't mean metaphorically. I mean the walls tilted 2 degrees to the left, then straightened, then tilted again, like a funhouse mirror without the reflection. Kelsey pulled out her laser measure and shot a beam down the hallway. The reading came back at -40 feet. The distance was shrinking the further we walked. She said, "Buildings don't do this. This isn't structural failure. This is spatial recursion." I didn't know what that meant, but the fear in her voice told me everything. We passed the nurse's station, and my flashlight caught movement behind the counter. A swivel chair, rotating slowly to face us, even though no air stirred in the building. The chair's vinyl seat was still indented, as if someone had just stood up. Kelsey whispered that the room temperature had dropped to 34 degrees, and our breath should be fogging. It wasn't. Something was breathing for us. We reached the chapel at the end of the east corridor, the same chapel where my mother died. The oak doors were shut, but a pale blue light pulsed through the crack at the bottom, steady as a heartbeat. I pushed the doors open, and we found the children, 18 of them, dressed in hospital gowns from the 1970s, sitting perfectly still in the pews. Their eyes were closed, their hands folded in prayer, their skin the color of old wax. Kelsey's thermal camera registered nothing. No heat signature, no cold spots, just nothing. These children didn't exist in any spectrum she could measure. I stepped closer to the nearest one, a girl of maybe 7 with braided red hair, and I saw that her lips were moving. No sound came out, but I could read them. She was praying the rosary in Latin, backwards. Kelsey grabbed my arm and pointed to the altar. The crucifix was inverted, not hung upside down, but physically grown into the wall like a root system, the figure of Christ replaced with something that had too many limbs. The blue light was coming from behind the altar, seeping through a crack in the wall that shouldn't exist, a seam that ran from floor to ceiling in a perfect vertical line, a door not built grown, the same door my grandfather drew for 30 years. Kelsey's seismic sensors screamed a warning, detecting a cavern beneath us that no geological survey had ever recorded. A sub-basement carved into the bedrock, and according to the readings, it was filled with hollow spaces, chambers, tunnels, things. I pressed my palm against the seam, and the wall opened like a wound. The blue light flooded the chapel, and the children all opened their eyes simultaneously. No pupils, just smooth white orbs that reflected the glow like mirrors. And then they spoke not with their mouths, but directly into our skulls, a chorus of child voices layered with something older, something that buzzed with the frequency of failing fluorescent lights. "Welcome home, Damon. Your mother has been waiting." Kelsey pulled me back, but I was already stepping through the seam. Because beyond that door I could hear her voice, my mother's voice, calling my name exactly the way she did when I was 9, the morning before her last shift. I need to find her. I need to know what she saw. The sub-basement wasn't built by human hands. The walls were smooth, organic, like the inside of a vein, and the blue light came from everywhere and nowhere at once. The air was thick, humid, smelling of antiseptic and something else, something sweet and rotten. Kelsey followed me in cursing under her breath, her flashlight strobing as the batteries drained and recharged in erratic cycles. Behind us, the seam sealed shut. We were inside the other hospital now, the one that existed beneath the real one, the one my grandfather had mapped in his madness. The corridors looped in impossible geometries, staircases that led back to the floor they started from, rooms that opened into themselves, doors that revealed only more doors, liminal spaces, but weaponized, infinite, hostile, hungry. And we weren't alone. They came out of the walls slowly, figures draped in the habits of the Sisters of Mercy, but their faces were smooth, blank, featureless planes of skin where eyes and mouths should have been. The echoes. Souls that had been absorbed into the hospital's acoustic architecture, their identities stripped away, leaving only their final moments imprinted on the building's frequency. They didn't walk. They drifted, gliding inches above the pulsing floor, and they hummed, a low, resonant hymn that vibrated through my chest, made my fillings ache, made my thoughts feel thick and slow. Kelsey's tablet displayed a warning she'd never seen before, an acoustic attack, infrasound frequencies designed to induce disorientation and emotional distress. The hospital was singing to us, and the song was a lullaby. I fought to stay focused, replaying my mother's voice in my head, using it as a compass. The echoes parted as we moved deeper, not blocking us, but guiding us. They wanted us to reach the center. The birthing chamber, that's what my grandfather had labeled it on his drawings. A circular room at the deepest point of the sub-basement where the hospital's true purpose was fulfilled. We found it behind a door made of old surgical lights, their bulbs glowing with that same sick blue radiance. Inside, the room was vast, cathedral-like, and at its center stood an operating table hewn from the same organic stone as the walls, and on that table lay my mother, not dead, not alive, suspended in a state between her skin, the color of the hospital walls, her eyes open and fixed on the ceiling, her lips moving ceaselessly in silent prayer. Beside her stood a figure, taller than the echoes, draped in a black surgeon's gown that absorbed the light. It turned to face us, and where its face should have been, there was only a vortex of spinning surgical instruments. Scalpels, retractors, clamps, all rotating in perfect synchronization. The surgeon, the thing that ran the hospital, the thing that had been harvesting souls for nearly a century. It didn't speak, but the instruments whirred, and their metallic grinding formed words. "You carry her frequency," it said. "The child returns to complete the collection." Kelsey shouted at me to run, but I couldn't move. My mother's eyes had shifted. They were looking at me now, and I saw recognition flicker in their depths. She was still in there, trapped inside a shell that the hospital used to transmit its call, to lure others with a voice they would trust. Every missing patient, every vanished nurse, every hiker who'd ever stumbled near this property, they'd all heard someone they loved calling from the basement window, and they'd all climbed down. Kelsey threw a seismic charge at the far wall, a device she used to map underground cavities, and the explosion shattered the organic stone. The blue light flickered, the echoes wailed, and the surgeon's vortex of tools spun faster, screaming with the sound of a bone saw meeting femur. I grabbed my mother's hand. It was warm. Her fingers curled around mine, and her lips formed a single word: "Run." I pulled, and her body came free from the table with a wet, tearing sound. The surgeon lunged, but Kelsey detonated a second charge, and the ceiling began to collapse. We ran. I carried my mother through those impossible corridors, her weight impossibly light, her pulse fluttering against my chest like a trapped bird. The echoes pursued, their humming now a shriek, and the walls began to contract, pulsing like a throat swallowing. Kelsey's tablet guided us, not by GPS, but by following the negative space, the voids where the hospital's own architecture was weakest. We climbed through a fissure that bled grey light, crawled through a vent that breathed cold night air, and emerged through the same shattered basement window we'd entered hours earlier, except when we looked at the sky, the moon was in a different phase. We'd gone in on a crescent. Now it was full. We checked our phones, and the date read 3 weeks later than when we'd entered. Time dilation, the hospital had been digesting us slowly, savoring. My mother's body dissolved in my arms as the first rays of dawn touched her skin, not into dust, but into sound, a single clear note that hung in the air for 3 seconds, and then faded into silence. She was free. But the hospital is still there, standing proud on Highway 72, its white columns gleaming in the Texas sun. And if you drive past at night and see a blue light pulsing in the basement window and hear someone you lost, someone you loved calling your name from below, keep driving, don't stop. Don't investigate, because Yorktown Memorial Hospital didn't close in 1988. It just moved its practice below ground. The surgeon is still operating, the echoes are still singing, and the collection is never complete. The first Scarecrow appeared in the summer of 1987 in a cornfield off County Road 14, 12 miles south of Broken Bow, Nebraska. It wasn't there at dusk, and by dawn it was standing dead center in the field, arms outstretched, burlap face turned toward the farmhouse. Earl Hendricks, the farmer who owned that land, figured it was teenagers playing a prank. He walked out through the knee-high corn with his shotgun broken over his forearm, ready to scare off whoever had trespassed onto his property. He got within 20 feet of the thing and stopped. The Scarecrow was wearing his son's clothes, not similar clothes, the exact clothes. The same faded John Deere cap, the same red flannel with the missing third button. The same work boots with the left toe worn through. Earl's son, Travis, had disappeared 3 years earlier while walking home from a high school football game. His body was never found. Earl dropped his shotgun. He reached for the Scarecrow's flannel sleeve and felt something solid beneath the fabric. Not straw, not wood. He tore the sleeve open, and inside, packed tight against the crossbeam, was a human radius bone, stripped clean, still warm. The Custer County Sheriff's Department launched an investigation that lasted 6 weeks. They cut down the Scarecrow, sent the bones for analysis, and the DNA matched Travis Hendricks. Every single bone in his body had been used to construct the frame. The skull was inside the burlap head, the eye sockets stuffed with dried corn silk, the jaw wired shut with rusted baling twine. They searched every acre of that field, dug down 6 feet into the soil, and found nothing else. No grave, no evidence, no suspect. The case went cold, but the Scarecrows kept appearing. 1 year later, 50 miles east in Kearney, another farmer found a Scarecrow dressed in his missing wife's sundress. Then Grand Island, then Hastings, then a dozen small towns that barely dot the map. Always the same pattern. Always someone who vanished without a trace, returning months or years later as a scarecrow in a cornfield. By 1995, 17 sets of remains had been recovered from scarecrows across central Nebraska. The FBI got involved, and someone inside the bureau leaked a detail to the press, a detail that never made it into the official reports. Every single bone bore microscopic perforations, thousands of them, as if something had drilled into the marrow from the outside. The coroner's report used a phrase that made headlines for exactly one news cycle before the story disappeared. Structural exsanguination via unknown biological mechanism. Something had drained those people from the inside out while they were still alive. I know all of this because my uncle was one of the FBI agents assigned to the case. Agent Marcus Thorne, 22 years of service, a man who didn't believe in anything he couldn't measure with a forensic toolkit. He spent 3 years tracking the scarecrow appearances, mapping them, analyzing the geographic pattern, and he found something that made him quit the bureau. The locations weren't random. They formed a spiral, a perfect logarithmic spiral that originated from a single point, a patch of unincorporated farmland in Custer County, the exact field where Earl Hendricks found that first scarecrow. My uncle called it the epicenter. He believed that something beneath that soil, something old, was using the scarecrows as vessels, as sensory organs, as a way to reach out into the world. He died in 2003, heart attack in his study. But his files remained, and 3 months ago, I finally read them. My name is Damon Vance, and after Yorktown, I thought I was done chasing darkness, but the Scarecrow files pulled me back because my uncle's final journal entry, written the night before he died, contained a single sentence that I couldn't ignore. It is not using the bones as a frame, it is using the bones as roots. I drove into Custer County on a Thursday afternoon, the October sky a pale, washed-out blue that made the endless cornfields look like something from an old photograph. The harvest was underway, combines crawling across the horizon like slow mechanical insects, but the field I was looking for sat untouched. 60 acres of overgrown corn, the stalks brown and brittle, the ears drooping with blackened kernels. The Hendricks farm, Earl had died years ago, and no one had worked the land since. The farmhouse was a slumped skeleton of timber. The barn collapsed, the silo leaning at an angle that defied gravity. I parked on the shoulder of County Road 14, grabbed my gear, and walked into the corn. The stalks closed behind me immediately, the rows folding together like fingers lacing, and the sound of the highway faded to nothing within 30 steps. The silence in a cornfield is different from any other silence. It's heavier, denser, the stalks absorbing sound waves like acoustic foam. My own footsteps sounded muffled, distant, as if I was hearing them through a wall. I walked for 10 minutes, navigating by compass, and then I found the clearing perfectly circular, maybe 40 feet across, the soil packed hard as pavement, and in the exact center, a wooden post stood upright. No crossbeam, no scarecrow, just a post, 6 feet tall, weathered gray, with something carved into its surface. I stepped closer and saw that the carvings weren't decorative, they were words, hundreds of words etched into the wood in handwriting that varied wildly, some neat cursive, some jagged print, some barely legible scratches, different hands, different decades. The earliest date I could find was 1987, and the most recent was 3 days ago. They were names, dates of disappearance, and then always the same 5 words, I am the harvest, now. My uncle's files described this post, called it the register. He believed every scarecrow that appeared in Nebraska, every set of remains, was catalogued here by the thing that made them, but he never found the source. He never found what lived beneath. I set up my equipment, ground-penetrating radar, EMF detector, thermal camera, and the readings made no sense. The radar showed a void beneath the post, a chamber, but not of any consistent shape. It was branching, spreading outward in a pattern that looked exactly like a root system. Tendrils extending hundreds of feet in every direction, threading through the soil like veins. The EMF detector spiked at 18 milligauss, held for 3 seconds, and then the needle snapped against the pin. The thermal camera showed something moving beneath the dirt. Slow, undulating, and warm body temperature warm. I backed away from the post and my heel caught on something buried in the soil. I knelt, brushed away the dirt, and uncovered a piece of fabric, red flannel, missing the 3rd button, Travis Hendricks' shirt, or what was left of it, and beneath it a human rib bone, partially exposed, curving upward like a plant seeking sunlight. I dug deeper, frantic now, and the soil grew warmer, wetter, and my fingers touched something that pulsed, a membrane, thin, translucent, stretched over a hollow cavity beneath the bone, and inside that cavity something was moving. Tiny, pale shapes squirming against each other in a fluid that glowed faintly green. I scrambled backward, wiping my hands on my jeans, and the ground began to shift across the clearing. The soil bulged upward, splitting in a seam that ran from the edge of the trees to the base of the post. From that seam, a scarecrow rose, not built, not assembled. It rose as if the earth was exhaling it. The wooden crossbeam pushing through first, then the burlap head, then the body draped in clothes that I recognized from a missing poster I'd seen at the Broken Bow gas station. A woman's sundress, yellow with white daisies, belonging to a teacher named Claire Hennepin who disappeared from her home 6 weeks ago. The scarecrow stood upright, suspended from the central post, and its burlap head turned toward me. There were no buttons for eyes, no stitched mouth, just blank, rough fabric. But it could see me. I know it could see me because the EMF detector broke a needle and all began broadcasting audio, a voice female desperate speaking through a veil of static. It said, "Please, it's still inside me. Please dig me out." Claire Hennepin's voice, recorded inside the bone structure of the scarecrow itself, her consciousness trapped in the same organic architecture that had absorbed her body. I reached for the scarecrow's arm, and the fabric crumbled at my touch, revealing the radius and ulna fused together by that translucent membrane. The bones were alive, the marrow inside them glowed with that pale green luminescence, and I could see the perforations my uncle had described, thousands of tiny holes, and from each hole a hair-thin tendril extended, weaving into the wood of the crossbeam. The scarecrow wasn't a structure. It was a feeding tube, a conduit connecting Claire's stolen body to the thing that lived in the soil, the mycelial network of something that had been growing beneath Nebraska for centuries, maybe longer. I heard my uncle's voice in my head, his final journal entry, and I understood it was using the bones as roots. The human skeleton, the scaffolding of calcium and marrow, was being repurposed as a biological trellis, an interface between the organism beneath and the surface world. Every scarecrow was an extension of a single entity, a subterranean intelligence that fed on human consciousness, digesting not just flesh, but memory, identity, soul. I stumbled toward the edge of the clearing, and the ground rippled. More scarecrows began to rise, dozens of them, pushing through the soil in a widening circle. Each one dressed in the clothes of someone who had disappeared. Some were fresh, bones still wrapped in desiccated tissue, faces beneath the burlap still recognizable. Others were ancient, the wood of their crossbeams petrified, the bones yellowed and crumbling. The oldest wore clothes I didn't recognize, pioneer dresses, Union Army tunics, a priest's cassock black with age. The entity had been harvesting for a very long time, and all of them, every single scarecrow, began to hum. The same low frequency I'd heard in the Smokies, the same vibration that had rattled my fillings in Yorktown. It was the same species, or something connected to it, a network of predatory consciousness that spanned the country, using different forms in different places. Doors in Tennessee, hospitals in Texas, and scarecrows in Nebraska. The humming intensified, and I felt my legs go numb, not from fear, from something physical, a paralytic frequency that was shutting down my motor neurons. I collapsed to my knees, and the nearest scarecrow began to move, not walk. The posts stayed rooted in the soil, but the scarecrow's arms extended, the bones inside the sleeves telescoping outward like insect limbs reaching for me. The burlap face split, and inside the skull, packed with corn silk and glowing tendrils, I saw the remnants of a human brain suspended in a web of that pale green fluid, still alive, still conscious. It was Claire, still aware after 6 weeks of being digested. Her lips, the lips that were no longer attached to a body, formed words, "Run, please run. It's growing new roots, it's going to seed." I don't know how I moved, adrenaline, terror, some primal survival instinct that bypassed the paralytic frequency. I crawled, dragging my dead legs behind me, clawing through the dirt until I reached the corn. The stalks closed around me, but this time they didn't feel hostile. They felt protective, as if the corn itself was fighting against the thing that lived beneath it. I hauled myself down the rows, inch by inch, until I reached the highway shoulder, and I lay there on the gravel, gasping as feeling slowly returned to my limbs behind me. In the field, the scarecrows had retreated into the soil, but they left something behind. The central post still standing, and carved into its surface in fresh, wet letters was a new name: Damon Vance. I drove straight to the airport, flew back to Chicago, and spent the next week in my apartment with the lights on, trying to convince myself I imagined it. But 3 days ago, I received a package, no return address, postmarked from Broken Bow, Nebraska. Inside, a small wooden box, and inside the box, a single kernel of corn, black, shriveled, glowing faintly green, and a note written in handwriting that matched my own, but which I had no memory of writing. It said, "You are already in the soil. We are just waiting for you to grow. I haven't slept since. I keep checking my skin for perforations. I keep listening for humming in the walls, because the scarecrows aren't just in Nebraska anymore. Last night, I saw one standing in the empty lot across from my apartment building, its burlap face turned toward my window. It was wearing my clothes, a jacket I donated to Goodwill 3 months ago. The entity isn't just harvesting bodies, it's collecting futures. And somewhere beneath the cornfields of Custer County, my roots are already growing, waiting for the day I become the harvest. If you're driving through Nebraska and you see a scarecrow that wasn't there yesterday, don't stop, don't investigate, don't touch the post, because the soil remembers and the roots never stop spreading. You pressed play because something in the dark was already whispering your name. Now you've walked the Smokies where the forest wears human bones. You've stood in the blue light of Yorktown's basement cathedral, and you felt the Nebraska soil pulse with roots that were never meant to feed on corn. 3 stories, 3 doorways into a country that is hungrier than we ever imagined. But here's the truth no one tells you. The horror doesn't end when the video stops. It lingers in the hum of your refrigerator, in the shadow behind your door, in the field you pass every morning on your way to work. So before you go, I need you to do something for me. Breathe in slowly. Hold it for 3 seconds and let it go. Feel your heartbeat, steady yours. You're still here, you're still safe. But someone out there is hiking the Appalachian Trail right now, and they just heard a hum with no source. Someone is driving past Yorktown Memorial, and they just saw a blue light flicker in a basement window. Someone is walking through a Nebraska cornfield, and they just noticed a scarecrow that wasn't there yesterday. Share this video with them. Send it to the friend who loves true horror, the sibling planning a solo hiking trip, the co-worker who just moved to a small town in the middle of nowhere, because warnings only work if they arrive before the mistake. I'm Mr. Whispers, and these stories aren't just entertainment. They're survival. Hit subscribe, ring the bell, and never walk into the woods alone again. Now exhale, close your eyes, and try very hard to forget the humming. It won't work, but you can try.